And it feels like that's what confusing people because first 2 weeks of the season, we've seen 2 players get ejected for hits. And we feel like we never got that. The Bengals lost a player in the first game. The play you alluded to with Cam Newton, that was an ejection in that game. So
as it should have been, right?
As it should have been. Absolutely. There is no question. Those are 2 completely different plays. Cam Newton is sliding, giving himself up, and Shaziz takes a chance and just says, hey, this is a chance for me to get a lick in on Cam, and he goes right for his head. I mean, it's one thing if you want to dive into his body or something like that, but to just go right at the man's head on the ground, you're not trying to make a play at him. He's already given himself up, and you, while he's laying on the ground, go in and head-to-head contact. No, that's the play that they should go to the college rule. You're suspended for the rest of that current game and the next game. Something like that, because like you said, you've got to deter this because that's a major problem for him. And how Cam wasn't concussed and how he didn't miss a play in that game is beyond me. Well, Eric, we talked about a rule change that's got some controversy going on. Let's talk about a team that seems to have oozing amounts of controversy coming out of Pittsburgh, and that is the Steelers. They are now 0-1-1 as they dropped a home game to the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes came in and lit them up for 6 touchdown passes in this game. They gave up 42 points there at Heinz Field. But it's more drama in Pittsburgh, and it's not just their record. After the game, Antonio Brown got into it with a ex-staffer from the PR side of Pittsburgh. He's not even there anymore. Of course, I'm not even sure if Antonio Brown knows that, the way he reacted to it, but he responded to a critical tweet that was sent out saying, trade me, and then doesn't show up Monday at the team facility for a meeting. As of Tuesday, Mike Tomlin said they were going to keep it in-house. Antonio Brown's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, came out and said that he does not want to be traded. But, Eric, this Pittsburgh team, we talked about them last week with just the entire Le'Veon Bell situation. He's still MIA. He's not on this team. There is a ton of expectations. Are there just simply too many diva-like personalities in Pittsburgh, and there's just not a coach right now that can control them?
Divas? I mean, come on. Antonio Brown is known for showing up to the first preseason practice either in a helicopter or in a Rolls Royce or in a fur coat, or this guy is diva beyond diva. And I think the PR guy's point was that, look, I mean, maybe Antonio Brown wouldn't even be this good without the fact that Ben Roethlisberger can just put up 400 to 500 passing yards anytime that he feels like it. It's just a bad look all the way around, from ex-employees saying stuff to Le'Veon Bell still not being there. Now you've got Antonio Brown sounding off on Twitter saying, hey, if you want to find out how good I am, trade me and see how it is after that. You just seem to have things that are happening now that, look, we talk in sports about winning can make a lot of these things go away. But when you're losing, when you open the season with a tie against division rival Cleveland Browns, and then you just get blasted at home for 42 points and 6 touchdowns by not a rookie QB, but a first-year starter in Patrick Mahomes, your defense looks like they're just kind of not sure where they need to be. Roethlisberger throws for 452 yards in a loss. It's really kind of a mess right now, and I think you're seeing a lot of disjointed coaching. I think you're seeing the dissatisfaction among all these diva personalities, and you have uncertainty. They don't really know when Le'Veon Bell is going to be back or if he's going to be back. You don't know if you're going to even make the playoffs now. And so you see that frustration boil over. Justin, my concern, to keep it short and sweet as I like to do, yeah, right, is that you're seeing this boil over after week 2.
Yeah, normally it takes the Steelers a little bit of time, but this is, like you said, this is early in the season for them. Eric, let me ask you this. We heard this from Ryan Clark on ESPN. He had some things about Antonio Brown weren't the greatest. Of course, he had an inside look being in the locker room. Now you've got someone that's a ex-staff member from the PR side of the Steelers that's coming out kind of attacking Antonio Brown. Do you think that some of these rumors are true, that this guy's, I mean, for all intents and purposes, just a pain in the rear end in the locker room, and he's not the easiest person to deal with?
Oh, I'm sure it is true. I'm guessing it is. I mean, he's had tremendous success on the field, and whether or not he would have that success with another quarterback really is irrelevant at this point. I mean, put him under Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or one of those guys, Drew Brees, I'm sure he has just as much success. put him under a different situation, and maybe he doesn't. That's irrelevant, though. He's on your team, and he's one of your superstars. He's one of the killer bees there. So the last thing that anybody, either current or former Pittsburgh Steelers organization personnel, should be doing is trying to piss this guy off. Now, with that same thing being said, I don't think Antonio Brown should be doing half the stuff that he does, but that's just what you get out of these guys that, end up making millions of dollars, and then they want to act like they want to act, whether it's Facebook living from the locker room, and whether it's, showing up, like I said, in a helicopter, or whether it's that makes it all about me, rather than team. And, this Pittsburgh Steelers organization, Le'Veon Bell, is all about me right now. Antonio Brown not showing up to practice after a tough loss, that shows a lot about me. It's getting a little messy.
And don't forget, Ben Roethlisberger came out and criticized the organization for drafting a quarterback as high as they did.
True.
And again, it was another me. I'm not going to be his teacher. That's not my job. My job is to get myself ready. And let me ask you this, Eric, from the coaching side, this isn't the first time we've seen this. You talked a little bit about it there, about some of the ways that things have gone on in this locker room, seemingly not being handled, from what Antonio Brown did with the Facebook Live during the end of a game speech. We saw last year they had a whole bunch of problems even trying to figure out as a team what to do with the national anthem, and that ended up being a mess. And then Ben Roethlisberger and Cam Hayward had to come out and talk about they were going to stop all this stuff, and they were just going to go out in the field because they couldn't even get that right. We know the Steelers as an organization doesn't like to make coaching changes, but you got to start to feel like is Mike Tomlin, has he lost this team and lost this locker room and basically lost their respect?
I think it's, at this point, a fantastic question. And I think it's something that they really might need to look in the mirror and consider. You and I had a discussion a week ago about Pete Carroll. Has he started to lose the Seattle Seahawks with the defensive breakdown and the guys wanting to leave and named players being gone? These players, coaches, like I said, they do really well when the team is winning and it's all rah and everybody's excited and we've got trophies. But when the going gets tough, it's hard for you to manage the expectations of your players when you've put yourself out there as the players coach, because then you're too much of a peer to them. And when the going gets tough, you can't set new expectations, set new goals, and then manage them the way that they need to be managed. That could be happening here, Justin. I don't know without digging into their organization a bit deeper. But like you said, the Steelers are known for long-term coaching hires. But it's possible now at this point that Tomlin's had his success, and now he's dealing with a bunch of players like Roethlisberger and others who are kind of nearing the end. There's a lot of dissatisfaction, and no one respects you because you've been that guy that's all great and happy, high fives when things are going well, but now he doesn't know how to push you when the going gets tough.
Yeah, I think if the Steelers struggle this year, they're going to have to make a decision. It's either going to be they're going to have to get rid of Tomlin and bring someone in to earn back the respect of this team, or they're going to have a Miami Dolphin-like offseason where they cut ties with some of the players that are pulling the culture of the team down and really try to reset the pathway of the organization. Le'Veon Bell, he's not going to be there next year. And then you're going to have to make a decision. Is a team willing to give up a few high picks for someone like Antonio Brown and then set up with Juju Smith-Schuster and Washington and Connor and then start to draft some guys and bring in a new direction for this organization? Because, look, we're only 2 games in and Pittsburgh could go on a tear here, but this is not good. We've seen this stuff flash up before with them. We saw it last year in Baltimore with Antonio Brown upset that Ben missed him on a play and throwing a cooler and all this stuff. But this seems like a little bit more than that. Le'Veon Bell's not on the team. Antonio Brown's saying to trade me on Twitter, and he's not showing up. There's a lot going on here in week 2. So we have one last topic here for segment 1. And I was actually struggling because, as we talked about, we really want to try to get into topics where we can have more of a debate either against each other or against really what the media is saying, and try to get a little juice into the conversation more than just a recap. So when I saw the story on Vontae Davis just walking out on the Buffalo Bills at halftime, quitting and retiring, I thought, well, there's probably not a lot of ways to make this debatable because Eric and I are going to both agree this is ridiculous. However, the media, they just give us the gift, Eric, because if you Google Vontae Davis hero, you'll find several articles written that actually praise Vontae Davis in his decision to just walk out on his team in the middle of the game and retire. So, Eric, Are we wrong here? Is Vontae Davis in the right, or are these writers just insane?
I have to admit to you, Justin, I didn't click on those articles and I didn't read them because I was afraid at what kind of liberal think tank we were going to get into with what kind of justification someone has for doing that. Look, bring this out of football. Bring this to your job or my job, or, you just don't do that. And, I actually this morning, I had a rough time in some of my surgeries. The surgeon I was working with was a bit difficult. Some of the cases weren't going all that well. And I was starting to get some mouth from the surgeon. But here's the thing. I don't get to just be like, you know what, doc, I'm out of here. Good luck on your next case. Hope all goes well, but I'm retiring. Aside from me hitting the lottery, I don't have that option. And even if I did hit the lottery, I don't think I would do that. I just think I have more character than that. I'd probably still give a 2-week notice, even if I hit the lottery. As much as we all say that we would love to, and I actually love my boss, so it wouldn't happen with me, but as much as we would all, dream of this opportunity to go in and tell your boss to shove it and leave, that moment and, throw things around and all this stuff, you just don't do it. You never act like that. The fact that this guy did it and is being praised by anyone for it is just beyond me. You don't give up on your team. I don't care. It's about principle and it's about team. Again, what did I just say with the Steelers? Me. Yeah, I know the Bills suck right now. I know they're just awful and they're not going to win anytime soon. But you knew that going into the season. So if you wanted to retire, why not do it a week and a half ago? Because you ought to have known then, because we sure did, that the Bills were going to be awful. So I don't know what this deal is, and maybe I'll have to read those articles, Justin, as far as just to see what viewpoints there are. But I'm guessing there would be viewpoints that would just irritate me because it's some sort of, snowflake justification for why this is okay. You don't quit on your team. You and I, we don't quit on our region. You perform, you get to the end, and then you make a decision if that job's not right for you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. Look, this is a team sport. This isn't tennis. It's not boxing. It's not golf. If you want to walk out on one of those, the only person that affects is you. And in terms of whatever deal you have, if it's sponsorship, if it's pulling out and not getting the finish that you wanted, or basically not making any money for that tournament, by all means do that. And obviously, Eric, you know that from your golf war last year about players that have injuries that actually have legitimate reasons to pull themselves out. But this seems like this was something that's been brewing in him for a while. Now, he signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with Buffalo in the offseason. We're just in week 2. He made it through a game and a half and decided to retire. Obviously, this had to be on his mind a lot sooner than just somewhere in the second quarter when he gets beat by one of the Chargers wide receivers and just says, I don't think I want to play football anymore, and just decides to quit. If he really felt that way, he either shouldn't have played in game 2 and had retired through the week and no one would have thought anything about it, or he should have taken himself out of the game and just simply said, look, I don't have it. You've got better, younger options that can get it done far more than me. Cheered his teammates on and then retired at the end of the game. That's all he had to do. But walking out in the middle of a game when you're on a team that's already struggling, that's just not right. And I feel justified, in my opinion, from playing team sports, as you said, from being on a team with work, and then listening to all the former and current players who are just beside themselves at what this player did, because no one seems to be able in a team sport to ever have seen this before, where someone just went in the locker room, got dressed, and left. I don't think there's any way to justify this because, again, people can. There's an article in SB Nation that he's a hero to the working class. The man makes $5 million a year. He's not working class. Okay, the working class don't have that option to just walk away. So that's just a stupid article. I didn't even click on it because I don't want to give them the views, because I think it's just such a ridiculous headline and notion to even write. It's simply just clickbait. I'm not going to fall prey to it. It's just an embarrassing article. I've heard other people on talk shows today say they will not have anything to do with the writers of these articles because it's simply embarrassing. And I have to agree wholeheartedly, Eric. Well, that'll do it here for segment 1. When we come back for segment 2, it'll just be Eric.
What?
Just kidding. You
have all the notes.
That's right. But I won't Vontae Davis you. I'm not a quitter. I'm going to be here for segment 2 because we want to talk about the rematch from the AFC Championship game down in Jacksonville. And after that game, the Patriots made a big move and brought in the big splash wide receiver. Will it pay off for them? We'll also talk about kickers in the league. Have they been devalued for the point where it's affecting their teams and their win-loss record? We'll talk about some of the bottom teams right now that are 0-2 that we didn't think would be there. We'll talk about their chances to rebound and who's in the most trouble. We'll have that and more when we